Hey everyone, today I'm going to cover all 9 units of AP Environmental Science with everything you need to know to score a 5. Let's go. Unit 1. 3 species interactions, predator-prey, symbiosis, split into mutualism, both win, commensalism, one wins, one neutral, and parasitism, one wins at the other's cost, and competition over limited resources, eased by resource partitioning. A biome is a community adapted to its climate. You should know the 9 terrestrial biomes: taiga, temperate rainforest, temperate seasonal forest, tropical rainforest, shrubland, temperate grassland, savanna, desert, and tundra. Freshwater and marine biomes round it out, and marine algae produces a huge fraction of Earth's oxygen. 4 cycles. Carbon moves via photosynthesis and respiration in the short term, rocks in atmosphere long term. Burning fossil fuels rapidly returns stored carbon to the atmosphere as CO2. Nitrogen's main reservoir is the atmosphere. Nitrogen fixation converts NU to ammonia that plants can use. Phosphorus is the odd one out. No atmospheric component. Reservoirs are rocks and sediments, and it's the typical limiting nutrient in aquatic systems. The water cycle is sun-powered with oceans as the main reservoir. Primary productivity is the rate sunlight converts to organic compounds per area per time. GPP is the total photosynthesis rate. MPP subtracts what plants burn through respiration. And the 10% rule states that only about 10% of energy transfers from one trophic level to the next. The rest is going to be lost as heat, which is the second law of thermodynamics. Food chains are single pathways, food webs are interlocking. Remove one species and feedback loops ripple through. Unit 2. Biodiversity has 3 levels: genetic, species, and habitat. Diverse populations handle stress better. Bottlenecks crush genetic diversity. Diverse ecosystems also recover better. Habitat loss kills specialists first, then generalists, then big territory species. 4 ecosystem service categories exist: provisioning, regulating, cultural, and supporting. Island biogeography states that small islands favor specialists, and invasive generalists usually outcompete them. Ecological tolerance is the range of conditions a organism can endure, that being temperature, salinity, sunlight. Natural disruptions can equal human ones in scale. Earth's processes are periodic and random, or potentially random. Sea level has shifted dramatically with glacial structures. Adaptations are slow genetic changes, and when environments shift, organisms can change behavior, relocate, or die. There are 2 types of succession. Primary starts on bare rock with no soil after glaciers or volcanoes. Secondary starts on existing soil after fire or logging. Pioneer species come first and build conditions for later ones. And there are 2 key FRQ terms. Number 1 being keystone species, which have an outsized impact on community structure. And indicator species, their presence signal ecosystem health. Biomass, species richness, and net productivity all rise through succession. On to Unit 3. K-selected species are large, few offspring, high parental care, long lifespans, stable environments. Think elephants, humans, stuff like that. R-selected species are small, have tons of offspring, little care, short lifespans, stuff like insects, frogs, weeds. Most invasive species are R-selected. Also know your survivorship curves. Type 1 is K-selected with late mortality, Type 2 is constant mortality, and Type 3 is R-selected with massive early death. Carrying capacity is K. Exceed it and you crash. Famine, disease, conflict. Density-dependent factors get worse with crowding. Food, disease, territory. Density-independent factors don't, though. Stuff like storms, fires, droughts. H structure pyramids. What you know is that a wide base means rapid growth. A rectangular is stable. Top-heavy is declining. Total fertility rate is shaped by maternal age, female education, family planning, government policy. Rule of 70 states that doubling time equals 70 over the percent growth rate. Demographic transition. 4-stage shift as countries industrialize. Stage 1 has high birth and death rates. Stage 2, death rates are going to fall first, then growth explodes. Stage 3, birth rates catch up. Stage 4, both are low. Developing countries sit earlier in the transition, and human growth, as it's theorized, is ultimately capped by Earth's carrying capacity. Unit 4. 3-plate boundary types. Convergent, so your mountains, island arcs, volcanoes. Divergent, seafloor spreading, rift valleys. Transform, earthquakes. Soil forms from weathered parent material and develops horizons O, A, E, B, C, R from top to bottom. And the soil texture triangle classifies soils by percent: sand, silt, and clay. Atmosphere layers low to high are as follows: troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, exosphere. The troposphere holds your weather. The stratosphere holds the ozone layer. Global wind patterns come from intense heating at the equator, plus density differences, plus the Coriolis effect, which deflects right in the northern hemisphere and left in the southern. A watershed is the land that drains into a common water body. Solar radiation is uneven. The equator gets most per area because the sun hits it directly. Earth's 23.5-degree tilt creates seasons. Mountains create rain shadows, dry regions where moisture has been wrung out. El Nino shifts warm water east in the Pacific, suppressing upwelling off South America and scrambles global weather. La Nina is the cooler opposite phase. Unit 5. The tragedy of the commons: nobody owns it, everyone overuses it. Think overfishing in international waters. Clear cutting is efficient but causes erosion, hotter streams, and flooding. The Green Revolution boosted yields with mechanization, GMOs, fertilizers, irrigation, and pesticides, feeding billions but tying agriculture to fossil fuels. Tilling, slash, and burn, and fertilizer overuse are the FRQ villains that you need to watch out for. Irrigation eats 70% of human fresh water. There are 4 methods, at least the most efficient: flood, furrows, spray, and drip irrigation. Drip is the golden standard at 5% loss, but very, very expensive. Waterlogging is where too much water is going to drown the roots of your plants, and salinization is where salts are left behind when water evaporates, eventually poisoning the soil. Pesticides drive resistance through artificial selection, and meat is about 20 times less land efficient per calorie than plants, and overgrazing causes erosion and desertification. Overfishing crashes ecosystems and economies. As high-grade ores deplete, miners go after lower-grade ones, which causes more waste, stuff like slag, tailings, and pollution. Surface mining strips overburden, and subsurface mining going to be in the tunnels. Urbanization drives carbon emissions, saltwater intrusion, and flooding from impervious surfaces like concrete pavement. Urban sprawl is going to push suburbs into rural land, and ecological footprint is the measure of the total resource demand per person. Sustainability is the present-future balance. Sustainable yield is the harvest rate that you can keep forever. Urban runoff fixes include permeable pavement, trees, transit, building up, not out. Integrated pest management combines biological, physical, and limited chemical methods, safer than spraying, but very complex. Sustainable agriculture tactics that you want to know are contour plowing, windbreaks, terracing, no-till, strip cropping, crop rotation, rotational grazing. Aquaculture is efficient, but escaped fish will breed with wild ones and spread diseases. For forests, reforestation, certified wood, prescribed burns. On to Unit 6. So non-renewable exists in fixed amounts: fossil fuels, nuclear. You also have renewable energies, which is going to replenish that: solar, wind, hydro, geothermal, biomass. Fossil fuels are still going to dominate though. 3 coal types by quality. You got lignite, bituminous, and anthracite. Natural gas is the cleanest fossil fuel, and cogeneration uses one fuel to make both heat and electricity. Combustion is where fuel plus oxygen makes CO2, water, and energy, and fracking can contaminate groundwaters and release VOCs, volatile organic compounds. Not good stuff. Nuclear energy, uranium-235 fission, produces heat that can make steam that spins a turbine. No air pollutants, but radioactive waste lasts thousands of years. There have been 3 big accidents: 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, and Fukushima. Halftime is the time for half a sample to decay. Biomass burning is going to release CO2, CO, NO, and particulates, and of course VOCs. Ethanol is roughly carbon neutral but has low energy return on investment. Renewables. Solar powered energy is going to turn sunlight directly to electricity. Active solar pumps, heated liquid. Passive solar is smart building design. Hydro uses moving water to spin turbines. Geothermal taps Earth's internal heat. It's limited geographically, but it can release hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen fuel cells is going to make water and electricity from H2 and O2. It's clean but very expensive. Wind turbines are going to kill animals like birds and bats. And for conservation, you want to think about efficient appliances, fuel-efficient vehicles, public transit, and of course, green buildings. Unit 7. Coal combustion releases CO2, SO2, toxic metals, particulates. Burning fossil fuel produces nitrides, which drives ozone formation and photochemical smog and acid rain. The Clean Air Act is going to let the EPA crush atmospheric lead. Primary pollutants are emitted directly. Secondary ones form via chemical reactions, and ozone is the classic. Photochemical smog is where nitrides and your VOCs are going to be cooking in the sunlight. Nitrides peak early, whereas ozone peaks in the afternoon, which is worse in summer cities. Thermal inversion flips the normal gradient. Warm air is going to sit above cool surface air, trapping the pollution. LA, Mexico City have epic smog because of this. Indoor air pollutants include asbestos, mold, radon, VOCs from furniture, formaldehyde from particle board, lead paint, carbon dioxide, tobacco smoke, a whole bunch of bad things. Radon 222 deserves its own call out. You got radioactive gas from uranium decay entering through basements. It's the second leading cause of U.S. lung cancer, which is crazy. Pollution controls. You got your catalytic converters, which is going to turn CO, nitrides, and hydrocarbons into less toxic gases. Vapor recovery nozzles capture pump fumes. Scrubbers and the electrostatic precipitators are going to clean industrial exhaust. Acid rain forms when sulfur and nitrogen oxides react with water. Sulfuric and nitric acid that travels downwind from coal plants, acidifying soils and lakes and corroding buildings. Limestone bedrock buffers. Noise pollution is going to stress wildlife and master communication, obviously. Unit 8. Two pollution source types. Point sources are single identifiable spots. Stuff like a smokestack, a sewage pipe. Non-point sources are diffuse, meaning stuff like agricultural runoff or urban stormwater. You can't really pinpoint it. Every organism has a tolerance range. Outside it, they're either stressed or they're dead. Coral reefs are casualties of warming, sediment, and destructive fishing. Oceanic dead zones are from nutrient pollution, where the oxygen sag curve shows dissolved oxygen tanking downstream of pollution. Aquatic bacteria convert mercury to methylmercury, which is far more toxic, and endocrine disruptors mess with hormones, causing birth defects, developmental disorders, even fish gender shifts. Crazy. Wetlands purify water, buffer floods, host wildlife. Development, dams, and runoff are going to threaten them. Eutrophication is where nutrients runs off, creates an algae bloom, and when the bloom dies, microbes consume oxygen, decomposing it, causing fish to suffocate. Anthropogenic causes are fertilizer runoff in wastewater. Thermal pollution adds heat. Warm water is going to hold less dissolved oxygen. POPs like DDT and PCBs don't break down, are fat soluble, and travel globally. And bioaccumulation is buildup in one organism versus biomagnification is where it climbs the food chain, and top predators in that case are going to be taking the hit. Waste management. Solid waste is going to mostly end up in landfills. A proper sanitary landfill has a bottom liner, stormwater and leachate collection, a methane recovery system, and a cap. Incineration cuts volume but emits pollutants. Recycling reduces mineral demand but takes energy. Composting turns organic waste into fertilizer. Sewage treatments has 3 stages. Primary, physical removal of solids. Secondary uses bacteria to digest organics in an aerated tank. And tertiary uses chemical or ecological methods to polish the water. Disinfectants like chlorine, ozone, or UV can also be used to kill pathogens before discharge. LD50 is the dose that's going to kill half a test population, so a lower LD50 means a more toxic substance. Dose response curves plot that effect against dose, and in real life we're exposed to many chemicals at once, so isolating the cause and effect is very hard. Pollution-linked diseases come from sewage, asbestos, respiratory damage from tropospheric ozone, lots of bad stuff. Pathogens are going to evolve, and climate change is shifting tropical diseases poleward. You should also know the following diseases like malaria, West Nile, Zika. That Zika is also mosquito-borne, and TB and SARS are respiratory. On to our final unit. Stratospheric ozone shields light from UV radiation. CFCs from old refrigerants and aerosols were destroying it, particularly catastrophic over at Antarctica each spring. Less ozone means more UV, which means more skin cancer and cataracts, and the Montreal Protocol thankfully phased out CFCs and replaced them with HFCs, which don't hurt the ozone, but unfortunately are also still potent greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases trap outgoing infrared, and the principal ones to know is CO2, methane, water vapor, surprisingly, nitrous oxide, and CFCs, of course. Water vapor's atmospheric lifetime is too short to drive long-term change. Global warming potential is measured up against CO2. CFCs are the worst, then nitrous oxide, then methane. The greenhouse effect itself is necessary for life. The problem is that the increase is going to cause Stuff like sea level rises, which causes ice to melt, and then thermal expansion, shifting your disease vectors, disrupting agriculture, altering your jet streams and your currents. And polar regions are going to warm up the fastest via a albedo feedback loop. Oceans absorb most of the heat and most of the CO2 that we emit as humans. Warming is going to bleach coral. Heat stress, it forces these coral to expel the symbiotic algae that feed them and give them their color. So they're going to turn white, and that's bad. Acidification works through chemistry. You got CO2 that dissolves in the salt water to form carbonic acid, which lowers the pH. Lower pH is going to make it harder for these corals or other organisms to build calcium carbonate shells. And the drivers are the usual suspects, right? You got your fossil fuel burning, vehicle emissions, deforestation, all that is going to contribute to climate change. You should also memorize the following, which can be summed up to the acronym HIPCO. These are biodiversity threats, right? Stuff like habitat destruction, invasive species, population growth, pollution, climate change, overexploitation. These are the main 6 threats. Habitat fragmentation breaks big intact habitats into isolated patches via roads, pipelines, and development. Some species cope, others can't. Climate change shifts habitats faster than many species can adapt. Invasives are usually generalist R-selected species that outcompete your natives. Endangered species often have limited diets, specific habitats, or get outbred by invasives. Protection comes from legislation like the Endangered Species Act, protected areas, habitat corridors, and ecosystem restoration. So a nice summary of everything we learned so far, and that's the entirety of APES. So if this video helped you guys, please share it with a fellow APES student, subscribe for good luck and a 5 on your AP exam. Hope you guys learned something today. Remember to be nice to the environment, and thank you for watching.